Curling now enters the Sports Weekend spotlight.
The last two draws of round robin, Paul, and so much at stake. Good morning to you, and
good morning
to fans around the world. Hi, Paul.
Nice to see you, and we're waiting for full drama today. Not necessarily on the men's side. It's relatively simple for Team Canada's Brad Gushue, who guaranteed to finish really third no matter what happens in his final round robin game against Great Britain. But man, the women's side. Woo, up and down against China. It was actually kind of fun here last night because the Chinese crowd really got into it. But it was not so fun for Jennifer Jones, who suffered that last rock extra end heartbreaking loss to China. She had a tough shot with that last shot, eh?
And it probably should have never came down to that. The first team in Olympic history to score 5 in an end and lose the game. An 11-9 defeat to China, which has caused curling chaos. Let us know where you're tuning in from tonight. Always great to see the comments at the bottom and hear from all of you. But call, it sets up a dramatic night with a lot of scenarios for you to get into. But let's look at the standings right now.
This is all about the scenarios, don't you think? It is all about the
scenarios. Right.
I've had to build a new board, for crying out loud. I know it's hard to see, but what we were down doing arts and crafts in the room.
Right.
The best scenarios for Canada, in a nutshell, if Canada and Japan win, it gets relatively simple, but not necessarily. The scenario I don't want to see is that Swiss ROC Canada Korea win.
Yeah.
Swiss Great Britain Canada Sweden win. We're saying Canada out.
Yes.
It comes down to last rock draw.
Right.
Which, as you can see on this incredible board I've done, Devin. Canada, that's Canada at the very end.
You ran out of whiteboards, Call. Look at your mess behind you.
Oh, whiteboards. You wouldn't believe what's happening here. I've had to build my own stuff. But because they might they not, I mean, I can't do the math fast enough. But they still have today's last draw. So
no, it's not even close. I'm going to shut it down right there. It's not even close. They are it's really and truly, they're so far gone.
Right. Canada's at number 10 at 50.87.
Like, that's not even close, Call.
I know. I just don't know how, when you calculate in and average it out and drop your worst, although they've dropped their worst already and it's still bad.
No.
I was doing faint hope clause.
No. I'm going to be the hope crusher tonight. Apologies. Because you know me, I'm normally the very optimistic one. We have a jam-packed show. Let's bring the experts in, Bruce, Mike, and Joanne, to talk about all of this. Good evening to all of you. Everybody, well, not everybody. There are a lot of people coming onto Twitter and whatnot saying, we don't like that this could come down to a last stone draw scenario, to which I respond, then make your draws. Joanne, good evening. What do you think of that?
Hot. Coming in hot, Devin. I like it. Yeah, I mean, we knew this was the rule, so it sucks when you're on the wrong side of it. Love it when you're number one in the draw and it works out your way, but this is tough for Canada.
Sorry, Paul, I am coming in hot today, but Mike, the mentality of going into the last stone draw,
Can you hear me okay? I've kind of lost you.
Oh, can you hear us?
Okay, good.
You can hear us, Mike?
Yes.
Okay. The mentality of going into the last stone draw, this is you literally have a whole practice. And from my perspective, you got to treat this thing like your playoff dreams could come down to this, right?
Of course. Yeah, I mean, they've got everything in their own hands right now. They can't worry about the other games. You know, Colleen's right. There's 6 scenarios where if they win, they're in. If there's 2 where they win and they're out. And unfortunately, they kind of did this to themselves, right? You only have yourself to blame when you look in the mirror. And the players, I think she'll be able to focus well enough on her own game that we won't have to be too concerned about that. I think the real key is just making sure that they are keeping on track. That's the biggest thing.
Right.
Interesting in the mix zone after the game, Madeleine Dupont from Denmark, who's had some crushing losses here, a lot of last draw losses for her. She said she just wants to win one friggin' game here. And I'm thinking, but not this last one against Canada. That's a quote from her. But Bruce, what are you expecting?
You know what? It's been a while. If you think back over these games, and I know this won't be absolute, but if you think back over these games, Canada has scored a lot of their points because the other team has missed or because Jennifer Jones has made a circus shot. I would love to see them use this game against Denmark to put together a few ends where there are 8 shots. All of them are really good and they score easy deuces and Jones just has to draw or hit or whatever. You haven't seen a lot of that. So 6 of the 8 scenarios are strong for Canada. But with regard to the last stone draw, you can always avoid it too by winning your games, so there's a couple sides to this coin. It only comes into play when you bring it into play.
No kidding.
Yeah. Switzerland and Sweden aren't worried about it one bit in that number 1 and 2 spot. But Joe, I don't remember a scenario like this before where we've seen these kind of dramatic possibilities of still so many teams hoping and wishing.
I think
Britain, Korea, even possibly China.
I think it speaks to the strength of the field, right? Like we said, there's 8 teams that could win a gold medal. So of course there's a crazy logjam at the end here, right? So it's going to be an exciting finish. Let's get Team Canada win tonight, and let's hope that the right teams win 6 out of 8 of those scenarios.
And pardon us because we just forgot totally about Gushue. We're so fascinated by what's going on in the women's. The men's doesn't seem as dramatic, Bruce, going into this final game of their round robin. But what kind of a preview could this final game of the round robin be for Great Britain and Canada?
It could be a serious preview. They're either going to play Great Britain or Sweden. And this is a chance to see where you are because these 2 teams have been, with apologies to Gushue, the cream of the crop here. So match up against the best, see how you're doing, develop some good habits, get some consistency, and use the game. Don't chuck this thing away. Take it seriously, use the game, and just get a flow and a rhythm developing.
That was going to be my question for you, Mike. In a game where, it's meaningless in terms of the standing, but has huge ramifications on whether you play Great Britain or Sweden. Knowing Gushue, as we all know him, he'll want to make a statement in this game and have his team really sharp at least, won't he?
I'd like to just see them go in with some freedom, and use the game to play a little bit better. The problem isn't that their opponents are playing great. They're struggling the last couple of games. So I think they use this game to just try to experiment with what's going to work well. How are we going to communicate the ice so that it doesn't irritate us, make it less of an irritant? Remember Brad Gushue in 2006, Bruce? Toby McDonald instituted a €2 fine for every time they complained about the ice. As soon as he did that, they started playing a lot better. Forgot about the conditions. It's the same for both teams. Talk about this all the time. Just come in with some freedom, whether they beat this team or not. These guys, Brad could curl 95% against this team and still not win. That's how good they are.
Right.
But I would love to see him curl 95%. That's my point. And if they do, that would get them on the right foot going into the playoffs. And you knew coming into this thing, all 3 top teams, Dean, Mowat, and Gushue, knew that if they want to win the gold medal, they're going to have to beat these teams in the playoffs. So that has not changed. So let's just try to get into the playoffs on the right foot.
And I just have never played in an event where you're not trying to figure out the ice every single game. It's always a little bit different from the morning, especially to the evening, depending on if it rains or snows or it's too hot or too cold. It's always an ever-changing beast. Okay, Joanne, what about Team Schuster at 4-4 trying to get in? Could the miracle from the last Olympics happen again? Do you think he's had his Sermon on the Mount time?
What a story there, hey guys?
Same situation, right, Joe?
Yeah. So the first step is for them to win, and then see where everything falls. Like wouldn't that be compelling?
I think there would be a lot of people going, "Oh no, here we go again." At least north of the border. Can we put up the scenarios again and then go around the horn? And Bruce, start with you. What one of these do you see most likely playing out, or one or two?
Oh, wow! Listen, I'm going to avoid that question like a good politician and say this. Isn't it great that we are covering this sport, ladies and gentlemen? Isn't it fun? I mean, of all the sports at the Olympics, I am seriously biased. This is the only one at this point in the games where you need an abacus, the Pythagorean theorem, and something else that Mike Harris will bring tonight to figure out. I mean, it is so much fun. And all I know is this, Devin. 6 of 8, that's 75%. So if Canada wins, there's a 75% chance they get in. So let's keep it that simple and take care of business first and win your game versus Denmark.
I imagine you guys are going to be just all over you know around the horn, keeping us all updated during the broadcast, because everybody, I mean, where do you look tonight? That's how it's going to be.
Everywhere. You look everywhere, and you constantly update and figure out, and we'll be on top of it, and it's going to be an exhausting night mathematically, but I promise you we're ready.
Listen, Team Fujisawa is beloved in Canada. Get all you Canadian curling fans who've watched this team play, get behind them, and that's all we need to happen. If you can do that, that's good. And then Canada's, of course, got to win.
Joe, any last thoughts? I'm sure there are a lot of people wondering whether or not you've got the lucky shirt on. You're muted. There you go.
No, because the other day they both lost. So I took it off, I threw it in the garbage, and then they've won. And then China, I don't know what to do, guys. So I'm crossing everything, and we're going to be okay.
Okay. Wow.
Hey, Devin, listen, when you have Joan McCusker on later, ask her if she remembers the time in 2007, the first time I worked with Mike and Joan, that I actually married them on air in the closing stand-up when I said, "Here are Mike and Joan McCusker." I was a little excited. It got away on me. And
yet you're still here. You still have a job. How does that even work?
Let me just say, the four of you have been really outstanding, and it's been so awesome to watch. Of course, we all wanted to be there, but it has been exceptional. The analysis, the insight, the interviews, everything. It's the full package, and now it goes into this dramatic night, and I wouldn't want anyone else leading us into it.
Devin, I'm eating ice cream during the game here. I'm eating ice cream at the Ice Cube, and today I've got to buy it for the Iceman, Hans Wuthrich. So that's what I'm doing, okay?
Right.
Wow. Do the heavy lifting.
Devin, thank you very much for that very easy question. Which of these scenarios is most likely? Appreciate that.
Oh, you danced around that, Mr. Man.
I had to.
You're a future leader of some party. I don't know which one.
Listen, it's all about the red and white tonight. Canada and Japan. Those two teams win, and you're in. That's simple.
Yeah. Have a great call today. Have a great day.
Thanks, guys. Awesome.
You guys.
Anything can happen. That could be our theme song. I think it's
anything could happen, and anything did happen in 2006 for the boys from Newfoundland and Labrador, because they were at this point of the round robin 5-3 going into the last game in 2006 and needing a win over the United States to get over into the playoffs. Jamie Korab had a front row seat to it all because he was on the ice, and he's in the house, and he joins us right now from the Rock. Good evening to you, Jamie, as we get you in. There you are. How are you?
I'm fantastic. A lot of memories with the comparisons from 16 years ago. Man, I'm old to this year. Wow.
No kidding. Good to see you.
I can't believe you didn't dye your hair red, or how many other colors did you have back in the day when you were young and wild? Nice shot.
It's the hair and the soul patch I get a lot. I get asked to bring that back by some, and others tell me don't ever do that again.
Wow. Jamie, you've been in these situations with Brad before. Maybe just some thoughts to this point so far, because of course, it wasn't smooth sailing in Pinerolo in 2006, but yet you guys were able to overcome. Somewhat similar stories here. What is it about Gushue and Nichols in particular that can get this thing going?
Yeah, I mean, when in 2006 we had a game against Sweden, I believe it was an extra end. The shot was made and picks just outside the house, and they steal the victory. And there are struggles with the ice and a lot of similar things, especially that Canada game against Russia. But quite did get the draw away, never quite did get a good handle on that ice. And one thing that we had done right before the final, Mark, I might have been before the last run game. Mark went over next door and with Russ and just wanted to throw a bunch of shots, get his feel back again. And I can't remember the amount. I think Russ said, Mark made 16 runbacks in a row, and that's when we knew he was back. So no doubt that, they've used a lot of that experience, and then they've regrouped. They've had team meetings. They've debriefed. They've looked at footage. They've done all the things, all the process, everything they've done to get to this point. They've dug into that experience. And I have no question they're going to come out tonight. I believe I just heard someone say they want to make a statement. It's also a chance to, you don't want to tweak anything. You're not at that stage, but it gives them a real chance now to come out, and there's no pressure. They're finished in third regardless. They're going to want to send a message to Adine and Mowat and whoever, that other semifinal team is going to be.
Right.
We're hearing at times that the team is a little frustrated with the ice, right, and trying to figure out the different paths. What was your rule and mantra back in 2006 about the ice and talking about it?
Yeah, one of the things that we had even, before the Olympics, but certainly at the Olympics, was you have no control over what the ice is going to do. You have no control over what other teams are going to do. You only have control over what you could do. So, you try as best you can to get a read, and go with it. And then the other thing that this team does as well as any team in the world, if not better, is all four communicating. They're studying, every time they're in practice, every shot they throw. I mean, Brett Gallant even, in the fourth end here, I had one, it was a little interns, a little tighter, and just the amount of information, that communication, and you've heard the team say it multiple times, but, they really need to just kind of forget about the ice. And when I mean forget about it, I don't mean forget what it's doing, just forget that negative part, and let's just focus on what you can control. And that's something that team is really, really bad.
Jamie, I saw your tweet before the show. Of course, we're going to have Joan McCusker on right after you, and you had said that she shared something with you. So the floor is yours to share that.
Yeah, somewhere between when we won the trials, it might have been in Halifax, or somewhere between, that 6 weeks before we went to the Olympics, or 8 weeks. Joan, being the 1998 Nagano gold medalist, said to me, Jamie, if you do go to the Olympics, it's not about that gold medal. It's about the experience. It's about the friends. It's about everything else from it. And I look at it, I'm like, this lady's crazy. It's about the gold. That was first and foremost. She couldn't have been more right. I mean, my gold medal right now, I'm pretty sure is at my neighbor's house. I think I left it there last week. We had an Olympic party, and I'm pretty sure it's there. But the point of it being is the gold medal is awesome. I brought it a ton of places. A lot of people have got to hold it, experience it. I'm on my third ribbon, but she was right. Like, I've got friends, John Schuster is still a really good friend of mine. David Murdoch, Bompy from the Ulster team, still in touch with those guys and the experiences and, everything that came with it. But yeah, she was right. So it was one of those things where, I should listen to the older, wiser person than the 26-year-old with the crazy hair.
Right.
I tell Devin that all the time. He should listen to the older, wiser person. Sometimes he does not. Now, Jamie, I know you were in Pinerolo, so you don't know exactly what the mood was like in Newfoundland and Labrador when the entire province was going crazy. You definitely remember the homecoming. But what is the mood like over there right now?
Yeah, no, it's great. I mean, in 2006, I still, to this day, it happened to me this week. Someone see me and said, "Oh, I remember where I was when I seen your game." I mean, that's 16 years ago. So, and that happens weekly. No, I mean, the buzz around there, everywhere I go, it's like I'm on the team still. This new team that, they're like, Jamie, how are the boys doing? What do you think? I stopped into a store today to grab a drink at 8 o'clock in the morning, and I got it at 8:30. There was only 2 people in there. So, no, the place is buzzing. It's all over the TV. It's all over the radio. The tweets are going crazy. And like I said, a lot of people reaching out to me. My phone is blown all the time with questions. Why are they doing this? Who they playing? But no, the place is buzzing. I think sometimes we actually take for granted that, the top team in the world, you can throw Mao and certainly Dean and other teams in there, but the top team in the world, curls at the Remax Center here in St. John's, a place of 108,000 people. And I think they've been that good since the Brier win in 2017. We almost take them for granted. But with that said, no, the place is buzzing, and there's going to be a lot of people up during that hopefully gold medal game. But even if it's bronze at 2:30 in the morning, I think it'll be the most people outside of New Year's Eve here in St. John's and Newfoundland will be watching that.
By the way, do you have your medal right there? We hear it's very frayed, the ribbon that goes around it. You must have it right there in your back.
No, it's over at the neighbors. He just said where did you leave it?
Friends of ours, Trevor and Desiree, across the street, we had a little get together with our tight. Sure, I left it there. But no, the ribbon that I had after about 4 or 5 years, it was just disintegrated. And then I used the ribbon I got at Michael's. And then about 3 or 4 years ago, a friend of mine found one on eBay. It's actually a replica medal, and I took that ribbon. So I'm actually using a replica, but I still have that frayed ribbon around. And if I touched it now, it would just go like dust, I'm sure.
Outstanding. Jamie, before we let you go, can the boys run the table and do this and get another gold?
Let's say that again. You cut it for a second. Sorry, Devin.
Can the boys do it again? Can they win another gold?
Oh, I've been saying, even before they went to the trials, and certainly that they've won. Me now being a St. John City councillor, I've already said to our council jokingly, but serious, we've got to find other things to name after the boys. There's highways, there's streets. In my mind, they're coming home with the gold for sure.
You heard it here first, so start thinking about what you're going to name there in Newfoundland and Labrador, because you've ran out of landmarks. Jamie, wonderful to see you. Always appreciate you on the show, and buckle up. Enjoy it.
Nice to see you, Jamie.
Will do. It'll be some sleepless nights. Good to see you. Take care, guys. Keep up the great work.
Thank you, Jamie. Great to have him on calling. Yeah, what a situation that was in Italy. They had to fight for every inch, literally, and back at it in another fight.
Yeah, we've seen this plot play out before, haven't we? With those kind of dramatic wins, whether it was Brad Gushue or, of course, John Schuster at the last one, and probably countless times on the women's. Well, not countless. It's only been since 1998. But I'm sure, Jennifer Jones going into this, Gushue, of course, we don't really have to worry about in this game. It's just to set the tone, get the focus, figure out the communication, etc. But Jennifer Jones has been in this kind of a scenario of a must-win. I like her chances against Denmark, but I also know that Denmark's Madeleine Dupont is a strong team that could surprise, and she's played everybody here so tough, so her record's not really an indication.
From one Olympic champ to another Olympic champ, 24 years ago to the day yesterday, that fearsome foursome from the Prairie Province of Saskatchewan, Sandra Schmerler, Jan Becker, Marcia Gooderite, and Joan McCusker, who's in the house. Golden and wonderful to see you, Joan.
Hi, guys.
Hi.
How was your dinner last night with Jan and Marcy?
I feel sorry for the people that were sitting beside us, because I think you both have heard how loud we can be when the laughter starts. And it started right from the word go. We had been trying to get together for a little while and kept postponing our kind of our monthly visits because of COVID and family and that sort of thing. And so we made this date, but we forgot. We didn't know it was the anniversary and until the afternoon. And so when we walked in, Marcy goes, "Do you know?" And I go, "Oh yeah, I just found out." And then we just started screaming with laughter and reminiscing. And I had to apologize to the waiter and said, "I am so sorry. This is our anniversary." And this young guy, he goes, "Of what?" And we say, "Oh, well, 24 years ago, we won a gold medal." And he looked at us and I went, "How old are you?" And he was 23. So we killed ourselves laughing about that too. Had a lot of fun.
Awesome. Joan, that was, it's still so vivid to me. Did you talk about the game? Did you talk about all of that? What stories stick out to you even 24 years later?
We did. We started reminiscing, talking about how it's still so much fun to tell the Olympic stories from our point of view, remembering that we were the first team to go. So there wasn't a lot of preparation, not a lot of people like today with Curling Canada that would tell the athletes what to expect. No one knew what to expect. So we were we were laughing about being gender tested when we arrived at the Olympics, and that we were all mothers, and we were like, "What? Like we have to prove that we're women?" That was hilarious. And playing in a really tiny little hockey arena that
Mm.
seemed to be fitting in rural Saskatchewan. It looked like it belonged in Saltcoats, Saskatchewan, and how you had this idea in your head that you would be in the most grand arena of all time. And that's just not the case. And ice wasn't very good, and how much pressure we felt wearing the maple leaf, and that has never gone away. And
Mm.
certainly we didn't have the depth of the field that we have here, but we feel that the weight of that maple leaf on our back was even heavier 24 years ago.
Wow.
Hi, roommate from Korea, by the way. Nice to see you. Miss our long night talks. Are the memories still sort of so fresh for you? Is that frozen in time in your head, or do they slip away a little bit all the time? Or is it just
You get reminded of them every once in a while. You get reminded. That's what Marcy was talking about, that she was doing something, talking about something with her family. And then Carrie said, "Marcy, you haven't told the kids that story about when you guys were at the Olympics." So you forget that the kids were not old enough to remember, and that we haven't told all those stories outside of our little circle. And so there's little triggers that get you going. And one of the topics of conversation last night was how we need to spend more time with Sarah and Jenna, with Sandra's daughters, to share those stories, because we're the only ones that know it. And when we
Right.
get together and we start to remind each other of those kind of experiences, and I know a few of the things are written down in a journal. I did keep a journal, which is so unlike me, but I know it's in a box somewhere that I'm going to have to take it out and revisit those sorts of things. But yeah, it does seem fresh. It doesn't seem like 24 years ago. It was that big of a deal.
It was such a big deal. Joan, you know so many of these teams competing at the Olympics very well. Maybe some thoughts on this dramatic scenario that's playing out going into the final draw.
It is very dramatic, isn't it? And it's just it was hard to watch. We're all big Canadian curling fans, and to watch the team struggle with trying to read that ice. I think the ice got both Brad Gushue and Jennifer Jones. The inability to adapt to whatever it was they were given on that outside sheet seemed to
Mm.
be a real problem. So, is it possible? It is. I totally believe, like, we have seen this team play really, really well. Like, they're not that far off. It's not like it's a huge disaster or anything like that. I think we're all just hoping and crossing our fingers. I believe strongly that Jennifer Jones can beat Denmark, and then cross her fingers that she gets the right combination of wins out of the rest of the field to advance. And then your back is against the wall again. Let's talk about that playoff, that sudden death semifinal. It doesn't matter if you had to cross your fingers and hope and pray and get into the playoffs. That semifinal can do you in one game. Doesn't matter if you lost any going into that. So lots of pressure whether they make it that next step or not.
Wow.
Joni, just quick, we saw you coaching, of course, at the Olympic trials with Casey Scheidegger. What do you bring from your 98 team? And, those kind of thoughts about high pressure situation and must wins, et cetera, that you bring to the young Alberta team?
There is a lot, Colleen. There really is a trick to learning how to play under pressure. And I think the number one thing is you have to fail, and you have to learn. You have to figure out what went wrong the first time that you were in that situation, so that it doesn't happen again. That's the number one thing. Get yourself into finals so that you feel really nervous. see how you perform, analyze it, and make sure it doesn't happen again if it's a negative thing. If it's a positive thing, also analyze it and do whatever you did to make that work. So there is definitely that. Can I teach people from my own experience? That I certainly am trying. Right now in the environment with COVID, it's more about trying to get my team into those pressure situations
Right.
when the field got so small that we're able to curl over the last year. So I'm hoping they have more chances.
Yeah.
I will never forget the story you told about the semifinal at the Olympics against Great Britain and Sandra needing to hit the 8-foot and you giving her information before that throw, Joan. And that, I think all of Canada was putting on the brakes when that rock started to slide.
It was a decision that Marcy and I made. We were timing, of course, the opposition's rocks in the semifinal. There was so much frost. It was raining and snowing all day that day. There was so much frost that the ice actually got keener in the 11th end because it was just so flat. And we were timing, and all their guards were slipping into the rings, and that's why our 11th end was actually fairly simple. And so we were timing, and so Sandra just had to draw, and she said, "Is it normal?" And Marcy said, "I think it's a little faster." And I remember looking at her and going, "Don't mess with her right now. Just throw normal." And she did, and it was too much. So I am watching this rock come down the ice thinking, this was me. I told her, just throw normal. And it's too much. And of course, they got to the tee line, and it's still moving. And the opposition, Great Britain, started sweeping it behind the tee line, and it stopped with about an inch to spare. 1 inch in the back of the 8-foot. I actually thought we lost until Jan put up her hand, and I have never been so relieved in my life to have won that game on an inch. And I didn't play well. I gave the wrong information. I was kind of a mess. But you know what? We played a great final, a great gold medal game. You got to have a little bit of luck, right? I tell my team that all the time. You have to have a little bit of luck.
Yeah.
And that was ours.
Awesome, Joe.
Yeah, when luck's not on your side, you're just wishing Mr. Luck would show up in a hurry, because you have to be good to be lucky before you need those breaks, don't you? Absolutely.
You do. You really do. You need to hit teams at the right time and cross your fingers a little bit. And, you need a few things to go the right way.
Oh, yeah. No kidding. Well said.
Let's hope that the Canadians are on the right side of the inch like you were in that semifinal game, Joan. We miss you. It's so good to see you.
It's good to see you guys, too.
Yeah. Awesome. Great memories. And, of course, that Saskatchewan connection. Always.
That's right, Devin. Take care, buddy. Keep on.
Awesome.
Keeping on.
Awesome. Thanks, Joan.
Oh, that good to be lucky. It's really interesting because having covered so much curling and played so much curling, you just sometimes look and go, why is that team so lucky? Why is the magic all happening to them? Every right roll, every right rub, every right run back, it just seems like magic can happen sometimes. And I totally believe, after covering this sport, I think I started playing it, of course, in the 70s, but started covering it for CBC back in the late 80s.
Right.
And you would just see the good teams they're good, but boy, did some luck go their way as well.
Well, the Canadians on the women's side need some luck, need some help. Why don't we take a look at those scenarios one more time, Call, so we know what we're looking at when everybody at home take a screenshot of that right now. Get your phones out. We'll give you a bit of time, because that's what you're going to be looking for starting at 1 a.m. Eastern time, Canada playing Denmark. But these are scenarios. Those top 6 is what you want. The bottom 2, not what you want, Call.
Well, you also don't want Canada to lose. That's one of the other scenarios on the list. just that you really want that to happen. Just don't lose. Have Japan, as Mike Harris said, cheer hard for Japan. That'll help Canada. There still are scenarios where that doesn't even work out.
Right. Do we have a rock color and uniform color?
Oh,
update?
my. We have an update, Devin. They're on the ice now. Team Canada's, you're going to like this, wearing red.
Yeah.
We're throwing red. Draw to the button hasn't. They got 1 minute, 26 seconds left in the old practice.
Okay, so Canada wearing red, throwing red. Of course, we at 8 p.m. have Canada, Great Britain. Then right in between all of that, Canada versus USA in the gold medal game, and then that'll spill right into that, pivotal 1 a.m. Eastern draw. What sheet are Gushue and the boys on?
They are on sheet C for Colleen and curling, okay, and Cookie.
And
all
champion. And
It's really
champion.
good. They're not. You know what? They're not on D. That should be the headline. They are not on an N sheet. And
those outside sheets have been a problem, haven't they?
well, I mean, Hans talked about that from day one because the ice was kind of coming out the side because it's so dry in here. Then he had so much moisture from the snow, turned off the humidifiers. Then it came back. Then it got incredibly cold. Then there were dew points. Then there were moo points. Then there were so many points going on. He's got that scientist graph down there of computers, more scenarios that can go wrong for an ice maker with the weather and this high building too,
right.
Super tall. So the moisture that the air is looking for is sucked out of the ice and comes out of that end zone. Not so bad as what it was that made him reflood 2 days before the Olympic Games. Anywho, that's a wrap.
Let's not forget that the next time we talk, we're going to know if Team Gushue is in the bronze medal game or the gold medal game. That goes men's semifinal at 7 a.m. Eastern time.
But it's keep in mind, here's a little. I mean, I know we're always talking about Eastern time, but here's the thing about for Canada. We're not used to this in a Canadian system. He plays right now in his final round robin game. He plays tonight here in Beijing. So he's got to go home, have a big old nap, eat, and come back. That's a really interesting scenario. Usually, of course, in Canada, semifinals are a whole separate day. Not so here.
What do you think? What do you think of that call?
I wouldn't like it one bit. I would not like it.
Wow.
But this is what it is. So you've got to just accept and bless it. Same for both teams. Luckily, he's playing Great Britain, who's in the playoffs. He could be playing. Great Britain could have had a last round bye.
Right.
So anyhow, it's interesting. But these are the Olympics. It's the Olympic rules. You play by these rules. So
surely they'll play those semifinal games on the middle two sheets.
Oh yeah, they're not going to be playing on an end sheet. That's for sure. Yeah.
Okay. Good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that is your scene setter, and wow! Just get ready for it. Just get ready for it. It is nail-biting time.
It is. I know. Don't put your hand in your mouth during COVID times.
Right.
All right. Thank you, producer Soph. Thanks for everybody for watching. We'll do it all again tomorrow.
Yep. Let's hope we're talking about some Canadian victories and keep this thing going. Enjoy it. 8 p.m. Canada versus Great Britain. 1 a.m. Canada versus Denmark and all those other games. And then, of course, tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. Canada versus we don't know. Stay tuned.
See you tomorrow.